Let's see a show of hands if anybody knows who this is. For those of you who don't know, this is head coach Dave Doeren of NC State's football team. What I'm advocating for is his dismissal due to poor performance in conference play, non-conference play, and the rivalry games in between. This man, whose 12-year reign of tyranny has plagued the hearts of NC State Wolfpack's fan base, has had fans begging on their knees for his services to be dismissed for the last 3 years in particular. Wolfpack Nation has called him many negative names, such as Donut Dave and Conservative Dave, for his benign and predictable tactics in attempts to win games that clip NC State football's program from achieving its true potential. With the talent that this football program has, quality decision-making can yield this team to long-term nationwide prosperity and respect in the attraction of higher talent, media, and revenue. However, the lack of such quality in decision-making for the Wolfpack's coaching staff has made many people in Wolfpack Nation feel like this. See? It's very sad. It's a serious affair to those who cheer for, current students of, and the alumni of the Red and White, a demographic of people who largely call Raleigh, North Carolina home. That's why I wanted to talk about this, to spread awareness to those Raleigheites that are not aware of this decade-long ongoing calamity. As a lifelong Raleighite NC State fanatic myself, I'm certain in my belief that I can do this topic justice once spread to the masses. NC State needs to fire their head coach in the worst kind of way. That's proved to be easier said than done. I'll be breaking down Dave Doeren's ongoing tenure at NC State in a fair assessment. First, focusing on the good, but then proceeding to discuss how the bad and the ugly absolutely outweigh the good. It is one of the highest priorities today that I take you guys along in discussing how we remove NC State's cavity. Before we go over what little good there is to acknowledge, we must understand the importance of rivalries and why they exist in the first place. College rivalries can be created for at least one or a few reasons. A lot of the time, the schools are really close to one another, whether within the same state or each school is located in a state that neighbors each other. Sometimes, teams play for a trophy. The older the trophy is, the more likely of a chance there's a story behind it, not just simply, hey, let's play for a trophy. Sometimes the school have really high academics that they diplomatically use sports to prove who's the better school. Another reason is that they could simply play each other a lot in conference play, right there. Often being a major marquee matchup that helps decide who's the conference champ. But the most common of these 5 reasons, the bottom line for the majority of college rivalries nationwide, is that they simply have a strong sense of animosity between one another. These matchups often boil over into acts of violence, or one way or another. Let's see what some of NC State's most heated rivalries are all about. Check out what happens in the 2018 chapter of this rivalry as NC State scores his game-winning touchdown against UNC in overtime.
They're going to give it to him. Reggie Gillespie dives into the end zone. The winning points for North Carolina State. And the teams come together in the end zone, pushing, shoving between the pack and the heels as Gillespie has scored the winning points, his 5th rushing TD, but these teams need to be separated. The emotion boils over on the last play of the game as Gillespie goes to the end zone, and it's a sea of Carolina blue and State red.
As you just saw there, violence was sparked out of nowhere, which led to benches clearing into all-out skirmish. Why? Generations upon generations of pure hate towards each other. Allow me to show you an article from East Carolina University's newspaper, the East Carolinian, issued back in September 10th, 1987. This is what the first bit of that reads. North Carolina State University officials have decided to call off the 1988 football game with ECU as a result of a post-game fracas at Saturday's game. The North Carolina State University Athletic Council decided unanimously to recommend that NCSU not play ECU during the 1988 football season. NCSU Chancellor Bruce R. Bolton concurred with the recommendation. After ECU's 32-14 victory over NCSU Saturday night, approximately 2,000 ECU supporters rushed onto the field, destroying a fence into the south end zone and 2 goalposts. Estimated damage to Carter Family Stadium was $7,200. After that unfaithful night, ladies and gentlemen, that rivalry was not played for another 5 years, in which it was played in a post-game matchup in Atlanta, right in between there, in Atlanta, referred to today as the Peach Bowl. Ever since that, they never scheduled regularly again. Only on and off did they not resume regular season play against each other for another 19 years, 1996, usually ending in blood spilt. They didn't care if anyone got hurt. They just hated each other. And that's college rivalries in a nutshell. So where is the good in this ongoing sin of Coach Doeren? For starters, his greatest success has been beating our rival North Carolina. The head-to-head results since 2013 are here. Winning 8 of the last 12, including a 4-year win streak. The Wolfpack haven't had a problem defeating their biggest rival, whether home or away. However, NC State's smaller rivalries, he hasn't kept as high of a standard with. At some points, neglected proper attention. This is most likely due to much lower pressure to win these games, but there isn't any public knowledge out there that allows us to know for certain. Here are the results from each of those other rivalry matchups since Dave Doeren has been the head coach of Raleigh. So, East Carolina, 3-3, a local team that's a lower weight class than NC State. The Pirates consider NC State to be their arch rival. A trophy is played for this game that goes by the name of the Victory Barrel. Duke, 1-3. NC State's next door neighbor. Duke doesn't really take football that seriously due to a high quantitative roster requirement and the extremely high academic standards that the Blue Devils hold themselves as a university too. Much easier to manage with a 15-man roster for basketball and find success because athletic talent doesn't always equal academic talent and vice versa. Wake Forest, 6-6. Remember what I said about Duke? Think the same thing here, but with a much smaller student body and a little to no prestige across all sports. There's really no excuse for it. A really cool fact about this game, though, is that it's the second longest uninterrupted series in Division I FBS football. As of 2024, it has been uninterrupted for 115 years. Clemson. The Textile Bowl has been one-sided for 3 straight generations of humanity. This game is played for a very large trophy as well, in which this rivalry gets its namesake from. The last time NC State has beat Clemson on the road was 2002. And playing annually, the Wolfpack have only managed to beat the Tigers at home only 4 times since. Pretty brutal. Many of the teams, including UNC and Clemson, NC State plays on an almost perfectly annual basis for generations due to them sharing the same athletic conference in the Atlantic Coast Conference. The 17 teams of the ACC compete with one another, filling in 8 of their 12 regular season games on their schedule to see who is the conference champion. The last time NC State was the ACC champion was 1979, in which they didn't even play the championship game back then, as they only had 8 members, one in which was no longer affiliated with, there being Maryland. They were crowned co-champs that year. This chart right here has a lot of information to analyze and break down. It comes from the NC State football page of college football at sportsreference.com. And allows us to understand Dave Doeren's body of work since he became the head football coach at NC State University. Since we were just discussing the ACC, let's discuss conference record first. Since Dave Doeren has been at the helm, NC State has put up a very sad and dull conference record with just 47-51, not even close to conference championship standards. Now let's consider conference opponents. Most of these types of games for higher weight class teams like NC State will be against smaller weight class teams, such as from here to here. And every now and then, annually, there will be at least one matchup in this category. Those are considered the Power Four. Those are the 3 conferences that are considered part of non-conference, not part of the ACC, are the Big Ten, which is mostly composed of schools in the Midwest, the SEC, which has schools located in the southeast region of the United States, and the Big 12, which consists of schools in Middle and Southwestern America located anywhere from the Great Plains to the desert. The ACC and these other three conferences make up, as I said, the Power Four for short, or P4 for short. This is the highest level of competition in college football. NC State's record against those non-conference Power Four opponents under Doeren's tenure is 3-11. Pretty terrible. So let's put it all together now and wrap it up in a moment. This head coach has been here for 12 years and has been extended in the contract with NC State, not once, but twice. He must be pretty good at his job, right? Not at all. He only has a winning record in one of the 5 rivalries that NC State is involved with. His conference record is below 50% win rate at lowly 47.51. And while his overall record at NC State is 87-65, right here at 57.2%, it's largely inflated by the lower weight class teams that are used as a warm-up. His Power 4 non-conference record is 3-11. So add his conference record with that, and you'll get 50-62, which is a win percentage of 44.6%. The P4 record, as I state right here in the bottom. Knowing this, we can come to understand how inflated that overall win percentage really is. So why hasn't Dave Doeren been fired yet? Certainly, this is enough information to justify the termination of a guy who's been overstayed his welcome, right? Well, this position that Doeren possesses is a job that requires the worker to be paid money for his services. Alongside NC State's football program doing poorly, the coach of the second highest paid sport, men's basketball, has also done very poorly. After this year, both coaches need to be fired, and Boo Corrigan, the athletic director, had to figure out which one he wanted to pull the trigger on, given that NC State can only afford to buy out and fire one of them this year. It's a very split-haired decision, but considering all the circumstances, Boo Corrigan chose the men's basketball coach whose buyout was $7.8 million. Dave Doeren, after said event, got to keep his job for another year. His buyout currently sits at over $15 million if he were to be fired. Maybe there could be a fundraiser or two to help lessen the financial blow? Probably not. But one thing is for certain. Conservative is here to stay. For another year, whether NC State likes it or not. And despite the fact they've needed to fire him, they just can't, because they just can't afford to do so right now. Thank you.